Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. The views expressed in this podcast do not reflect the views or opinions of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
And welcome back. We are at episode 15. I want to start off with thanking all the new listeners and subscribers, those both on Facebook and our podcast platforms. We definitely appreciate you. I thank you. Your input is always welcome. I think tonight we went ahead and decided early on that we are titling this episode The Aftermath, after probably a good majority of people received their 4241As yesterday. I know quite a few offices probably won't get them till tomorrow when management comes back in. And it's definitely been a mixed amongst the social media I have seen. Definitely more towards the negative than the positive. But on that note, tonight we've got Bill and Josh and James with us again. And Josh, how you doing? How did you fare out?
I fared well. I gained 2 standard hours, but I was already at 48, so I didn't gain any money. I gained more time that they can cut for me when they finally do cuts. In my office, talking from the chatter, I heard 2 people went down 3 hours. The other ones I've talked to pretty much stayed the same. Another one went down 1 hour. So.
I hear you. Yeah, my office, I'm going to say it was kind of mixed. My aux route didn't really change. My standard hours had a minimal change. It went from 16.19 to 15.58, so I'm still a 16-hour aux route. Our 43K POV route, 93 miles, 478 boxes, did take a 3-hour cut down to a 40K. He's not happy, trust me. Our 48K, 47K, so she was fine with that. I think she had said it had just recently gone back down to a 47K, so she stayed the same. Our 2 42K routes both went to 45Ks, and we had 2 42J routes. One went to a 45J, and the other a 44H. Now that one was the padded route, so I knew that was going to go back down to an H. That's because it didn't have any business being a J. And outside of that, that's how my office fared. Bill, did you get any news?
Well, I don't know about news because, even though it was my day off being the local steward, my phone blew up. And I'm telling you, we don't get paid enough being local stewards.
I know,
on
right?
a normal day, my phone doesn't go below a 50% charge, for me using it for whatever reason, phone or music or sports, whatever. But I'll tell you what, it started at 7:30 in the morning and it didn't stop until 8:10 last night. That and in between that and watching a grandson overnight, Friday night and Saturday. By the time 9 o'clock came, I didn't even need a glass of Crown Royal to go to sleep because people were pissed. And that's just being mild about it. The ones that lost were the ones that made the comments, oh, I don't give a fuck about that, or I don't give a... And the other ones were, didn't pay attention. And they said, see, this mini mail survey was bogus. And I said, it's not the mini mail survey. It's the 2 years before when I've been telling you to do everything on the scans, to pay attention, to enter the information. It's the year long preceding this is what your evaluation was. So if you didn't do what I've been telling you for 2 years, that's on you. Well, I didn't know. And folks, if I had enough hair to pull out, I would. But I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I have witnesses to say Bill's been up there at every moment telling you what you need to do, and you didn't pay attention. It's your paycheck, and you just screwed yourselves.
Yep.
End of mini rant.
Yeah, it's I had to explain to the one carrier that went from a J to an H the difference. She's like, so I lose my DACA day? Because she was working 6 days a week anyways. I'm like, yes, you don't get to take a DACA anymore on that one day because now you have to work 6 days a week. I said, but you went from a 42 to a 44, so I had to get out the pay table and show her. Yeah. And then of course my one POV route that dropped 3 hours, and I know where a lot of that came from. It's just trying to get the carriers to understand the difference in the standards. I mean, when you're going from 2 minutes a box on a non-L route to 1.2 minutes a box, that's an hour and a half cut on that route right then and there.
Right off the bat. Yep.
Right off the bat, it was like 95 minutes because I said, how many boxes? I was doing the math with him tonight as he was reading me his 4241M, and I'm going through the Rex comparison 4241M and trying to explain to him what these are, and I said, and your drive speed. I said, yeah, that's where your loss was that, and it has him at 68% coverage. So, unfortunately, it's not a heavy route. It never has been. It probably never will be. And unfortunately, it's at this point, unless there are some discrepancies that we can find when I have the stuff in hand looking at it with my eyeballs, then, I don't know, we'll go from there. It's definitely been interesting. James, how did you make out?
Oh, it's going to be quite interesting for me tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. James is also a local steward, so, yeah.
Yes, and I'm already not looking forward to going into work tomorrow on the heaviest day of the week and having everybody complaining about them losing hours and this and that. The other thing, in my office, one route went up 2 hours, and that was our littlest aux route, went up 2 hours. We knew it was going to go up no matter what kind of count we had just because of the mail volume it had ever since they formed it. But now it's finally official that it's gone up 2 hours. The other aux route went down 5 hours.
Whoa.
Went from a 39 to a 34. And my route stayed the same. I'm still a 42K on mine. Still a 5-day work week. In my office, of the remaining 9 routes in my office, I think it was, if I recall, one of them went to an H from a K. 4 of them went to a J from a K, including ones that were almost 48K. And just like you guys have been saying, I had one guy tell me straight up to my face when I told him, you got to start doing these scans because it's your money. He said, they told me I had to do the 6 scans. That's all I'm paid for, so that's all I'm doing. Well, the roosters come into home now. It's unfortunately the thing. And the one that went to an H route is the one I feel the worst for. Back when this first started, I actually put on my own training. I borrowed the fire department's conference room and put on a training there for anybody that wanted to attend. It was off the books, no management approval, no union approval, but I wanted our carriers to know about it. I had 3 regular carriers and 1 sub show up. Out of 9 regular carriers and, at the time, 7 subs.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 16 people that could have gotten this training even before it went live, and only 4 of them showed up. Well, the one H route is one of the carriers that showed up to my training. She always asked questions. She always asked how she should input stuff. But her route is in a subdivision. They replaced the mailboxes in the subdivision, and 90% of her packages now fit in their mailboxes. And that's one of the big things that cost her a lot of time, because she no longer gets the distance from the mailbox to the park point, and from the park point walking straight line to the door. Those
Right.
distances add up big time. You know, my route being a 42K is, number one, a miracle that I did not get cut, because I figured I would. I didn't expect to go up. I didn't expect to stay the same. I expected to go down like everybody else. But to be told I'm staying the same, and I'm not doing any extra scans that need to pad my route or anything like that. I was completely honest with all my scans, and somehow I was able to stay a 42.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know why everybody else is going down in my office when I know some of the routes should stay up with the volumes that they have, and some of the routes should go down with the volumes they had. The one that's a J route, one of them that's a J route, got cut from a 48 with a massive cut. He should probably be an H route now, but he only went down to a J. And I'm thinking that there is so much variability here with his route and the aux route that went down, because that's where his boxes went to, that I'm thinking that because of this last year and the routes only being cut within the last 3 months, that there's residual volume still sitting on that route from the 52 weeks that hasn't been taken off. And the same on the aux route, there's residual of the lower amount still on there, and that's why it got cut. Unfortunately, we don't have the numbers to back it up. We don't have the paperwork to back it up. And there's a lot of questions on these papers that I'm going to have to answer on Monday that I'm going to have to say, I can't answer them because I don't have the information and nobody can get it for me.
Yeah.
And that's the worst feeling in the world, is that I can't get the information. I'm fine with saying I don't know, but I could find out. But when I have to say I don't know and I can't find out, that's what upsets me as a steward. I don't know about you guys. How do you feel about that?
Well,
Oh,
I
agree.
always just blame the ADR.
It's not her fault either.
Well, I'll blame the DR then. I can't
It's not
blame
their fault.
management. They've done their job, haven't they? They've been completely transparent. They were fully trained, professional,
Oh, yeah.
and efficient
Oh,
in
yeah.
regards to giving us the information when we needed, what we needed.
And don't forget, they also took the time to train us all on it, too.
Yes, they even paid us to go to training. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. I seem to remember that. I think I was drunk that day.
And I know in Michigan, specifically, I mean, we had a couple different trainings, but even the national office put on a steward Zoom Q&A for us. So
Yes, they did.
But the problem with that is with the union. The problem with the union on that is that they gave it to union members only. There wasn't anything for the non-union members or the non-dues paying members that they could get that information. And the only way they could get that information is either through a third party or through management. And management's not going to give you the completely right answer on that. They're going to tell you whatever's best for management, like
Well,
not counting of them through the mini mail survey.
Management
Even
can't
though-
give you the right answers when they don't know the right answers.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
and they
So,
weren't
there
trained
was-
properly. I mean, it goes. Honestly, I think anybody to blame on anything when it comes to the training in general and not having the information lays solely on the postal headquarters.
Yes, because they were told in arbitration that they were required to train the carriers on this, and they completely failed in that portion of the arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
The union has stated multiple times through all these trainings that we're not supposed to put this on, but nobody else is doing it.
Yeah, the union doesn't do the training. When you have a new employee come in, it's not the union training them, it's the post office. More than likely that trainer is a union member, but it's the post office's obligation.
They're paid by the post office
to do the training.
The mandate was for management
Yes.
to train the carriers.
Yes.
Right. Well, I can tell you, at least in North Carolina, the ADRs all went to offices and conducted the Rex training because they knew management was, on top of it. So.
Hell, I'm the one that did it in my office. Of course, I started in a study office, so I was already somewhat familiar with everything.
And
it was just getting refamiliarized with the changes, the added scans, and the scans they no longer did from when I had first started.
right.
And so I kind of took over, not fully the training, but jointly with management in my office. And, I made sure everybody had all the handouts. I'd print out one copy, management would print copies for everybody, including the 99-page Rex Comprehensive Guide. She made sure every carrier in my office had a copy of that.
Good. Well, I say good on her.
And,
I don't
Yeah,
even
that's
think
really
anyone on the desk in my office has any idea what the 99-page guide is.
I printed off one, I printed off one copy. She took it. She took the copy that I printed off and brought in and ran copies for every carrier in the office. So there should have been one at every case, and then she had one for herself as well. That way she could see what was going on.
Yeah, see, I am in my office about halfway through when we got into having to do the mapping. When they first opened up the mapping, I turned around and I said, "I'll be the facilitator. As the union steward, I'll be the facilitator."
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to be a facilitator, not just management. I didn't trust management. No offense to my management. I have great management, but I have to make sure the carriers get it right. And so I offered to be the facilitator. I learned everything I could about it. I learned out the whole 99-page manual, everything. I was working with management, and eventually it got to the point where my postmaster turned around and said, "If you have any questions on this stuff, ask James." Because James has gone through all this stuff. James knows all these things. Ask him about it. He knows what he's doing. Even our OJI doesn't know as much about this system as I do in this situation. And it's not a knock on her. She has a lot of work to do as an OJI as it is. And you know that too, Kristen, as an OJI, that there's a lot that an OJI has to do on top of you being a steward and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I hold all those. I hold all three of those hats in my office: the steward, the OJI, and the mapping facilitator. Yeah, I know.
So you know exactly how hard it is to cross between all three of those as it is.
Oh yeah.
And our office, I mean, a lot of the people were just doing the bare minimums that they could.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on the other side of it, there's another part that a lot of people did not realize actually affects this and didn't notice it. And that was early work, working off the clock,
Yes.
has affected your Rex score. And it doesn't matter how you do it or what you do. If you go in early and you are not clocked in, you are not affecting your Rex score. If you are clocked in and working, you are affecting your Rex score. And here's another side to that. A lot of management is telling people not to punch in until your start time. And that is a falsity. A lot of people are being forced to punch in late. And being late is a disciplinarable offense. Being less than 5 minutes early is legal under the Postal Operations Manual. You have a 5-minute leeway and you can punch in early. I'm looking for carriers and other offices that are being told this because I'm looking at filing a class action against postal management for putting this out there because it's a violation of the Postal Operations Manual. So I'm working on that right now because it's not right, and you should be able to punch in a little bit early on the clock instead of punching in at exactly 8 o'clock or whatever your start time is, or even a minute or two after. It's not right, and it shouldn't be happening.
Well, I guess someone grieved about people coming in early and working, so the 204B now won't even let us on the workroom floor. I'll come in and go to my case and take my coat off. It's like, because it's every day, you're not supposed to be on the floor. I'm like, chill, I'm not touching anything.
Taking my coat off to stay a while.
Yeah. So, yeah, our start time is 8:30, and they posted something the Saturday or Friday saying start times will be 8 a.m. starting on the 8th. So they didn't tell us that was only city. They just said start times will be 8 a.m. So I will be there at 8 a.m. on Saturday.
And that's management's discretion.
Well, the postmaster put out, we were the last one, my station was the last one in the Charlotte post office to go to 8:30, which was almost a year after the postmaster said start times will be 8:30, because they kept not changing our 4240s.
Yeah.
So every time I gave them, like that first Saturday, they said it's going to affect Saturday, 8:30. I'd show up at 8:30 Saturday, and it still said 7:30, so I would continue coming in at 7:30. So,
and we got to talk about all these other carriers that are being affected by this and what the union is doing for them. The union is doing what they're supposed to when it comes to this. They have filed a Step 4 grievance on this, which is the highest grievance they can file, and that is to force the Postal Service to release the numbers because they haven't this whole time.
And an unfair labor charge.
I'll get to that. And the reason why they're filing that right now is because they've had Step 4s for this before, but they're doing it at every instance that they can legally do. So when they first announced they were going to do the mini mail survey, they filed a Step 4 for not releasing the numbers. When they finished the mini mail survey and announced that the routes that are going down, routes are going up, and so on and so forth, they filed another one for it. Now they've also filed a labor charge for this very thing, and they've also filed for a moratorium for 60 days on the route evaluations until the Postal Service can release the numbers.
No.
Now, whether the
moratorium was when they receive the information to give them 60 days to go over and verify it. So that actually won't go into effect until they get an answer from the post office.
So if the post office drags its feet and holds off until the next mini mail survey, it'll be 60 days after the next mini mail survey if they release the numbers just as the mini mail survey starts. Yep. 60 days from that point.
And therein lies the problem, because of the fact that as of September, the union was saying that there was no transparency from the post office on the numbers. They were given an additional 6 months to provide that transparency, and here we are, 7 months later, there's still no transparency.
And we're looking down the barrel of a gun for almost 70% of the rural craft is looking down the barrel of a gun, basically.
Yeah, when you have carriers taking $3,000 to $20,000, $3,000 to $20,000 a year pay cuts. I mean, come on, people. When you have
how many are going to walk away?
You have high K routes dropping to H routes.
Yes.
I mean, what's going to
happen?
happen?
Going from 46 to 48, dropping down to 40.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's going to happen
I've been there before.
with these formula offices that had all these K routes that are now J and H routes And what's going to happen to these PTFs? Because contractually, a PTF is supposed to be assigned to at least 2 to 5 K routes. And now, if you don't have K routes
At least
in the
2
office,
K routes. Yep.
yeah, 2 to 5 K routes per string for a PTF. And now all the K routes are gone. What's going to happen?
And there isn't even a provision in the contract for if the offices drop all their K routes for PTS.
No, there is nothing.
There is no recourse for them. The only thing they would have is if there's other formula offices within 50 miles that they can bid on, or a district bid. They can't even go for a national bid and move out of state or something for a PTF position. It's within 50 miles of their office, basically, that they can bid in. How many are we going to actually lose in that situation on the PTF side, not to mention the RCA side of these offices that had one K route or had their own K route on a Saturday and a K route on a Monday that they were running, and then whatever they covered throughout the week. Now, if you have J routes in the offices, they'll be working 2 routes every pay period instead of 1 on a Saturday. And then what happens to their Monday if there's no K routes to work a Monday? Well, now they're only working Saturday and maybe Amazon Sunday if they have an Amazon Sunday.
Or some
I mean,
of
like
these
in my
offices
office,
that are gone to H routes. I mean, yes, an H route
yeah,
is.
they're H routes.
And by the way, an H route is entitled to a sub. All full-time routes, contractually at this point in time, are entitled to a leave replacement. Actually, even
And how many leave replacements are only going to work a week a year?
Yeah. When I first transferred into my office, I transferred in on an H route. The carrier at the time was out on OWCP. She came back 3 weeks in after I transferred in. And the first time ever in my life, I had 2 paychecks that were 0. You know, I've been that sub on an H route. I know how that goes.
Yeah, then we're looking at, we're going to lose subs that were working 3 days a week and making okay money to subs that are working 1 day a week now, which is, of course, only guaranteed on K routes 1 day a week, J routes 1 day every 2 weeks, H routes you're only guaranteed to work when the carrier's off.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose those subs because they're going to go off and work at McDonald's or Walmart or someplace else where they may make $1 or $2 an hour less, but they'll get more hours. And then you have the regulars who are used to working 5 days a week, doing 6 hours a day, going to 6 days a week, working 5 hours a day. They're getting paid 5 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're going to not be happy. They're going to quit. What are we going to do? The subs are going to quit first before the regulars do. Then the regulars are going to quit. There's no subs to fill those positions. Now we've got even more routes sitting empty.
Yeah. I mean, you've already
They're trying to get rid of the Table 1 employees because we make too much.
The thing is the ones that they're going to push out is going to be the Table 2. It's going to be the Table 2.
Table 2s are more likely to quit.
Yes.
Yeah. Table 2 is going to walk out, and then Table 1s are going to be all that's left. You're going to have carriers that were on Table 1 that are working until they're 80 years old because they can't retire because they don't want to leave their route abandoned because they have too much pride in their job to leave their route abandoned. They're going to die in their postal truck from old age out there on the route.
Mike's not on with us at the moment. I'm not sure if he's going to jump in or not, but he just made an announcement, and I want to put this out for everybody that's in the Mid-States Conference region. If you are still interested in registering and attending Mid-States in Wichita, Kansas, the first weekend of May, you can still register. They are going to keep the P.O. Box open until May 1st. So I'm just going to put that out for you guys. Anybody that's still interested in registering to attend Mid-States, you have until May 1st, I'm going to say the last day of April to be safe, to get that mailed in. The P.O. Box will stay open until the 1st of May. All right, go ahead. Sorry about that. I just wanted to put that out there because I know I am definitely looking forward to going now because I think now that evaluations have come out, it's going to be quite interesting at Mid-States.
Well, and what you were saying earlier, a little bit ago about H routes entitled to having a sub,
Yeah.
and all the subs that are now on H routes that were J's or K's are not going to be happy because now they're only working that 1 week a year if there's no other work in the office.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
not
They're,
like
they're,
you
20,
already.
they're
30
planning on sending them out.
years ago where people were looking for, that's exactly the ideal job they were looking for, was 1 day a week or less.
Mm-hmm.
So to become a sub for the post office,
To get that
where
foot in
you
the
only
door.
had to cover vacation,
Yeah.
they could still go to whatever job if they had another job, they could still go to that without having to worry,
Yeah.
except
It
for,
was. It was
in case of
getting.
a call out.
It was getting that foot in the door. When this used to be quite
Yep.
the.
Yeah.
I mean, this used to be quite the coveted job, and I remember, it's only been just over 8 years for me. But I all the time I had people, wow, who did you know to get in there? How did It was one of those things. I mean, there used to be wait lists mile long to get into the post office.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can't get help to save our lives. We've got regular carriers who are getting so fed up now that are, if they haven't already, will probably be leaving sooner than they had anticipated to start with. We already have routes in some areas that are already full-time routes that are going up to be hired off the street because it's bounced back and forth between local and district bidding and nobody's taking them. I think right there should prompt a resolution to allow national bidding.
Or how about
Yeah.
when you post 15 PTF positions in our area and only 7 were filled?
But that goes back to management not doing everything they can to hire people either. My office has put in for a sub for the last 2 years with district, and they'll post it for 3 days every 2 or 3 months. And for those 3 days, it's I go out and I put it on all the local social media pages when I find out it's put up. But to get people in the door and stuff like that, giving them 3 days to apply is not working. You need to keep them open, and they're not doing that. Now, the other side of this is with these new evaluations, you've got carriers. I know carriers that have actually gone out and when they saw their evaluation, they threw their badge and their keys on the desk and walked out the door at their office.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's a resignation.
Yeah.
That's a voluntary resignation, and your steward is not going to be having an easy time of getting you your job back when you just voluntarily resigned in your anger towards your numbers that you got and threw your badge and your keys on the desk. You abandoned your job and you voluntarily resigned.
Yeah, out of haste. I know because that put our DR put an email blast out about that. Is it. I get where I get the anger and the animosity. I mean, this is everybody's livelihood, and I completely understand that. Yes, I'm still in RCA. I am the next one to go regular. I will be regular as either just before the next mini mail survey or as the new evaluations take effect for the mini mail survey. It's going to fall in right in that time frame. Is that route that I'm looking at taking still going to be a 45K in October? I don't know. But it's, I get this. This is people's livelihoods. This is their money. This is what we, house payments, car payments, kids, colleges, all that stuff.
And
it's our livelihoods.
If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're going to have to decide what bills you pay with each paycheck and what food you eat for that next 2 weeks. Because you're going to have to decide what's most important to pay when your bills come up. Because you're sitting there and talking about, people who lost $2,000 to $13,000 a year, and that could be their car payments. That could be their utility bills. That could be the food they put in their fridge. That could be the clothes on their kids' back.
That could be their mortgage.
And the post office just costs them all. I mean,
their kids' college tuition. I mean, it could be their own college tuition. I mean, it's you know, and I understand they're trying to push off the table ones, but the ones that are actually going to affect are the table twos. Table two is already making $8,500 to $15,000 a year less than table ones. Those are the ones that are going to walk out the door.
Mhm.
And folks, let me put this in there. The most drastic thing that I've seen in my office, and I've heard from other offices, is the lack of involvement between a regular carrier and their sub when they're
Yes.
training them. And you don't understand. I have a sub, a very good sub that I train, and I put the time, the effort. I'm available when I'm off. I'm available in the evenings. Like I said, yesterday was my drop day, and my phone started at 7:30 in the morning. It didn't stop till 8 o'clock at night. What you put into the job, and that includes training your sub correctly, is what you get back out of it. And my sub would call me up and say, well, I have this box holder. Is it addressed? Yes. Okay. It's not a box holder then. You know, does it say WSH on there? No. Okay. Then you can put it under the WSS. Well, what if it has WSH? You're not allowed to put them in, which I believe to be unfair, but that's another discussion. But if you don't put the effort into training your sub right, guess what? You're going to get screwed, and the sub's going to get screwed.
I actually had a conversation with a couple of friends of mine that are ADRs, and they both said they can't authorize it on the union side, but they said it's carrier discretion on the WSH, and the rule of thumb would be 80% coverage, is what they said, would be 80% of your active boxes for coverage to put it as a WSS, but that is not coming from the union, and that's why I'm not naming who they are that I've talked to. But it is a suggestion to carriers if they wish to add a little bit of numbers to it, that it won't affect it. But if you're putting WSS in every single day, or putting 2 or 3 or 4 of them in every single day, it's going to throw a red flag. But if it's one every couple of weeks, they're not going to say anything. It's going to be looked over.
Well, that would be appear to be the store. I guess the line that the union's towing on that, and somebody, I'm not going to mention myself by name, suggested that if you're getting WSH and it's covering 60 to 70% of your route one day, and then 2 days later you get another one's covering 60-70% of your route, you've now created a WSS because you now have 150% of your route covered. And if your finger slipped on that entry, I would understand, but I can't condone that.
Exactly. It's carrier discretion on all of these scans. We can't tell you whether you should or shouldn't put them in, but you should think about what would you think it'd be worth on your route when you actually look at it. It's the same as with the letters versus flats when we did the mini mail survey. When in doubt, if you think it's too big to be a letter, then it's a flat. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to use a ruler or any of that stuff. But some carriers still use a ruler. They want to be as honest as possible, and that's perfectly fine. But again, it's carrier discretion on all of this stuff.
And how many times? I was going to say, and how many times do we? Oops, I don't know what I hit when I was in there. It just went off.
Exactly. The scanners aren't accurate, so we don't have to be accurate either.
But doesn't it seem that the WSH was created to actually rob us? Because when I get a WSH, I get a boatload of my addresses, of 639 addresses. And it seems like almost a legal way for them to rob us.
And it should be counted with your bundled flats. It should be counted with your bundled flats. Notice I said should, not it would. Should be counted.
Well, we don't know that
but then
because
again,
we don't have the numbers.
Exactly. It all goes back to we don't have the numbers. And then also the WSS flats technically should be counted for your route from the shipper, but again, it's not because we don't have the numbers. Everything you think it would be counted, unless you have an actual number on it, like an end of run report, which even before this started, you could get your DPS numbers in an end of run report. That's not a problem. That's a number you can actually look up. But your bundled flats, your raws that you get in, your NLM mail, all that stuff is not counted in our eyes because we don't have the numbers. So if you have a question about whether it's counted or not, default to it hasn't been counted.
Well, the LMN or bundle or free the dispatch stubs in the morning
Mm-hmm.
will show up on the end of run report.
Yes. The carrier routed tubs, yeah.
Yeah, the carrier routed tubs will. The clerk routed tubs will not.
Right.
The NLM mail will show up too, but in the mini mail survey, the training that I got from the union and management said that if the clerks put the NLM in the hot case, then you count it as raw. If the NLM comes in your DPS, it's not supposed to be counted. But if it's in your DPS, technically it's a DPS error. So it should be counted as a DPS error. So either way, you should have gotten a raw count for the NLM mail. And anything else you felt needed to be counted should have been counted back on the mini mail survey.
I am seeing over the last 36 hours, well, 37 hours, going on 38 hours, on the social media, a lot of things that should have been included, miscellaneous timed events that carriers were never told that should have been a miscellaneous time event, so therefore they're not getting that credit now. Yeah, it's
a mess.
There's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of mistakes that happened with this last mini mail survey and these 4241As and 4241Ms. And the union did put out an email about it, or a notification about it to everybody, that they are step 4ing it, but if you feel like the numbers are wrong on your 4241A or your 4241M, that you should grieve it, and then it will be held at step 2 until the step 4 is solved in the national level. And you should grieve it if you feel like you're being wronged on your paperwork. Now, granted, that puts a lot of work on us stewards, but that's what we're there for. That's our job. We're there to help you. Whether you are a dues-paying member or a non-dues-paying member, our job is the same for you. Just like this podcast, we are here for everybody in the craft.
Well, no, there's a couple in my office. I'm not.
We'll do our best no matter what.
I solved that problem and got decertified.
Trust me, you're certifiable.
Oh, yeah, that I am.
Oh, yeah, it's. I almost want to call it the rural apocalypse at this point in time. My office didn't get hit quite like some of these other offices, and I feel for those carriers. I really do. It's almost to the point I just don't know what to say anymore, because it's the loss. It hurts. It doesn't. It's not directly affecting me, but it still hurts, because we're all in this together. We're one big huge rural care family, and what's affecting 66% of our carriers is affecting all of us in one way or another.
Now, granted, I'm happy. I'm happy for the 33%. I'm happy for the 33% getting the money they deserve, but I also feel terrible for the 66% that are losing so much out of this, whether it be the loss in pay or it be the loss in days off, because I know how much the days off means just to me alone, let alone to somebody else who may have kids or may have a starting family or maybe parents that are getting up there in age that they have to take care of and stuff like that. You know, I know what those days off means, and that hurts them too. And I don't like seeing this, but I hope that as a group we can come together and find some kind of positive resolution to this that benefits all rural carriers altogether.
And that's, you know, I feel for everyone too. In 2018, I went into the count as a 47K. I came out as a 41K, and if I remember correctly, I was 2 minutes into 41. So the initial numbers showed 40K. So I know, and I felt wherever, you know, most of these people are now. It sucks.
It does. And I
How
think-
many of them are going to have to go out and do Uber or Uber Eats or Lyft or any of those other jobs just to make up this loss of revenue?
Yeah.
Although it would be cool to ride in an Uber that has a right-hand drive.
I know
Well,
what your
let me
day
take
job
you
is.
home.
Well, actually, I think the right-hand drive would be great for, you know, like food deliveries because of the fact that you can get out on the curbside. It's safer for you.
Yeah, the big joke going around, and I did post that meme on the Facebook page, is OnlyFans. Though I think there's quite a few of us. No, I let's not.
Oh no, they pay me to keep my clothes on. So.
Exactly. It's, me too. It's okay. Yeah, I just, like I said, I have no words anymore for it. I am just, it hurts. It really, really hurts. And I'm not one that's directly affected by the big, huge changes, but it still, it hurts. It really
Well,
does.
you are affected because you're the sub in your office that covers all the routes, and so that pay actually affects you too.
Oh, it does. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, like I said, my office not getting hit as hard as some of these offices we've seen. It just...
Like my one carrier that went from a K to an H.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know someone that happened. Coincidentally, it was a 44 to a 44. So
I mean,
they got lucky.
They gave up their 2 days off. I mean, they're still getting paid the
they
same,
lost
but
their 2 days off.
but they lost their relief days.
Yeah,
And that's
but
still a cut in their pay in a way because
Yeah.
now they're having to work more for the same amount of money.
exactly.
Folks, at 7:30 yesterday morning, you know, I got on my computer. By 7:45, the comments on Facebook and the rural carriers, the rural carrier associates page were lighting up, and I'm sitting there going, "How the hell did you lose $16,000?" I mean, wrap your head around that, folks. I mean, I lost $12,000. I lost 16. I lost 8,300. Wrap your head around the fact that you lost that much time on a route. What did you do or not do? And you know, what did your sub or, you know, whoever was carrying? People who didn't switch the scanners over, people who didn't bother entering the WSS or entering the UBBMs or any of those things.
Or all the times
Wrap
the
your
routes
head
were split,
around that.
and the
That's a
times the
lot
routes
of
were split and the
hours.
subs didn't do it. And the subs didn't do the scans on the routes because they were splitting it, and so they didn't do the full scan set for the route. And that's another thing that affects it, is if you have subs that do splitting a route, neither of those subs are going to be clocked in on that route because they probably were doing an aux route or something else on top of that. And if they also don't change the scanner over to that route, you're not going to get the package credits for that route. They're going to put the credits on that aux route that they were running. And then you have carriers who were not inputting any of this information whatsoever until the last month and a half. So you only have a month and a half worth of scanner inputs that are now divided over 12 months. you have your mini mail survey and stuff like that. That doesn't really affect your route that much, 4%. I mean, yeah, you would have gained maybe at most 10, 15 minutes if you had a lot of mail, but you really have to look hard at all the different things that come out of this. The driveline matrix changed a lot.
Yes.
Like Kristen said, she had that 93-mile route. That's a non-L route. That route was getting 2 minutes per mailbox, and now that route's getting 1.2 minutes per mailbox, on top of the 9.6 minutes per mile because of the distance between boxes, probably up to maybe 12 minutes a mile. But
yeah, there's a 12 mile deadhead just to get to the first box, and then returning from the last box is 13 miles. I mean, come on now. I see where that loss is, but I'm also finding out that the former regular on that route retired last summer, last July. She did the 6 mandatory scans and said, screw the rest. You know, I'm retiring, I don't care.
Yeah, her foot's
And
out the door. She doesn't care what happens to the next
the only
carrier.
time those scans were getting done is when I was running that route, and then when the new regular took it over. So that whole first half of the year wasn't getting accredited like it was supposed to because it was only getting done when I was running the route when she wasn't there.
Yeah, and then you have the routes that are getting the mileage off the LTM, which may or may not be accurate. And if the mileage is incorrect on your 4241, you need to turn around and you need to grieve that. Because as it stands, our mileage is not based on the LTM. It is still based on a certified odometer. And any manager that tells you it's not based on a certified odometer is lying through their teeth, because our contract still requires a certified odometer to measure the mileage of the route.
Exactly. And that's what I try to tell him, because that was another thing too, is under the Rex mapping. See, here's the thing. When I came onto that route, it was a 98-mile route. Regular had a remeasurement done just before COVID. And it went down to 93 miles. So we automatically lost an hour there, losing 5 miles at 12 minutes a mile. So that dropped it down to a 41, maybe a 42 at the time. I think it went down to a 41. And he was telling me when I was talking to the regular that has it today that, you know, and then doing the Rex mapping, the Rex mapping has it at 91.83 miles. And that's the amount of mileage on the 4241A. And he's like, I set my odometer. He goes, I have the 2 trips. I said, yeah, just like, you know, I do on my Jeep. And he goes, I let the one go. He goes, but the other one, I keep it going, because then he takes the difference from going up the driveways and down. And he goes, if it just running the flat route, he goes, I subtract the mileage out of the driveways. He goes, it's at 95 miles. I said, ask for a remeasurement with a calibrated vehicle. He goes, but they're trying to argue that it's all done on the GPS. I said, ask for a remeasurement. There is no language that says you cannot ask for a remeasurement still.
Yeah, if they're not allowing you to get a remeasurement with a certified odometer, you can actually grieve that because it is a contractual dispute.
Correct.
So, Mike, how was your night?
Well, my daughter has a new ride now.
Sweet.
Hello.
What'd
Hello.
you get? What'd you get?
She got a 2020 Mazda CX-5,
Oh, nice, nice.
which is she does she's a CNA. She does in-home care.
Okay. So she's
Oh, that's a good
reliable, yeah.
So she needs something reliable, something with a lot of space to carry her supplies around in.
And fuel
So-
efficient, yeah.
Yeah, fairly fuel efficient. So Yeah.
It sits up moderately high, so she has a good field of vision.
Yes, that's yeah. And this her roommate's boyfriend works at a car dealership, and he went with her to test drive it and look it over. And the seller the seller is like a car flipper. Instead of a home flipper, he flips cars. So he was really well organized, and he had the Carfax already run, and just he was really well prepared for us. So I was a little. She found him on Facebook of all places, and I was like, well, I was a little wary of that at first, but they went out and talked to him, and he's a nice guy, and like I said, really well organized, and everything was really above board. So yeah, that's how I spent my afternoon and the early part of the evening. So
how did your kind of backtracking to how when we first started, Mike? Any word on how your route in office fared with yesterday's?
Okay. Personally, my route went. I went up about 30 standard time. I went up about 30 minutes. So I went up from a 45K to a 46K.
Congratulations.
Thank you. My route or my office was kind of a mixed bag. We had some big losers. We had some big gainers, and then we had some in the middle. We had 2 K routes. One gal, and she's been out with an injury, and so just the topic you were talking about before. Her route's been being run by RCAs and being split since about December, and she went from a 47K to a 42H.
Ooh.
Ow. That's a big
Yeah.
That hurts.
We had another.
Yeah.
There's another regular, and I know it used to be my sub of record route, and when I ran it I think it was a 46K, and it may have been about that, and she went to an H route as well.
Ouch.
So, but then we had another couple of K routes that went to J's, and then we had a couple of ladies lost like 3 or 4 hours, but are still K routes. And one of the ladies is like, well, yeah, I lost 4 hours, but I got so much growth on my route. I'm not really worried about it. And then I catching the end of the last conversation. I'm going to say bring your lawn chairs and popcorn on Monday, because one of the carriers who was off on Saturday is going to come in more Monday to find he was cut from a 47 to a 40K. That said, and I don't know this for sure, but he works 2 cases down from me, and I believe he told our case neighbor that he wasn't going to do any of the rec stuff. So I put that firmly on. If he took that cut, then that's firmly on him, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for him.
None at all.
None.
Well, I'm going to say this. 30% of your evaluation is the scans you put into your scanner.
Yeah.
30% of it. 40% of it is the computerized stuff that gets put into it. Then you have the DPM and the LTM that's on top of that. That reaches you up to the last 6%, which 2% of that is your office measurements and 4% of that is your mini mail survey.
Right. And
so,
and I will tell you for the, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or blow my own horn, but I was diligent. Once they said, hey, you need to start doing these scans, I was diligent about doing them.
And that's the thing is, I know some carriers that were doing them diligently and still lost big.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure
that's the saddest part.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's out there. I'm sure you guys have been over this, and I don't want to backtrack too much, but there were a couple things like my 4241A. My route is on my 4003. My route measurement is 16 miles. The LT on my 4241A, it says I'm almost 17. So they're obviously entering the data from the LTM.
Yes.
Did you go over and then my box factor, my coverage factor was 92%. I don't know. Did you guys go over that? I don't want to.
Not yet.
No, we
Okay.
haven't gotten that
Not
far.
yet.
All right.
We haven't gotten that far.
And then the whole thing about zero, and I've been asking since yesterday, is the volume factor, is that still a thing under Rex? I don't know. Or Rex, I don't know.
We haven't gotten a solid answer on that, but what I have seen is that the box factor is an adjustment slot in the rec stuff, at least from what I've read in different things, including the 99-page manual. It's supposed to be an adjustment that if you change significantly on your route, that when the next mini mail survey comes out and your next 4241 comes out, that'll be in the adjustment section until you hit your next mini mail survey 6 months later. That's at least what I'm getting from what I've read, but I'm not 100% certain on it.
Okay. So, yeah, and I've looked at my 4241A. I printed out the cheat sheet what goes into each of the blocks on the 4241A. I was wondering, and I didn't go to look because I've been kind of busy with stuff today. If there's a comparable guide to the 4241M, does anyone know?
In the 99-page manual, there is the 4241M comparison, and it has what you would have, and then the breakdown of the new one with explanations. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of going over it with the carrier in my office today as he's reading me his 4241M numbers, and I'm kind of trying to follow along in the comparison guide and explaining what they were. So yeah.
Okay.
It is in there.
So I need to dig out my Rex manual again. It's on a shelf here somewhere. I saw it the other day. I need to dust it off.
That's another one that we got to talk about is all the zeros that you see on your 4241s. I have a carrier that sent me their 4241. I haven't seen mine yet. I haven't been in the office. When I went in this morning, the 204B was told not to give them to the carriers that morning.
Ooh,
and then
interesting.
And then he was told around noon to give them out when the carriers got back. And he called me and said, "Hey, I just got told I should give them out in this afternoon when everybody gets back." And I told him straight up, I said, "Tell them, please don't kill the messenger.
Yeah.
Talk with Denise and James on Monday about it, but don't kill me. I'm just giving you what they've told me to give you."
Yeah,
because this poor guy, he's a great guy. He's a great 204B for us, and I really feel bad that he had to be the messenger in this situation.
Our 204B went to log into the computer on Saturday, and he had an email stating that his detail had ended and he lost access to everything.
Now that's convenient.
And he had stated that the postmaster said that she'd rather he wait until Monday to give them. Of course, everybody's hovered around the desk. I look at him. I said, the postmaster's login, right? He looks at me, smiles. He goes, "Yep." I said, "Get to printing, buddy."
I'll tell you that our opening supervisor not only passed out the 4241As, but she printed out the 4241Ms without being asked, and gave those out to everyone as well.
I told everybody.
Yeah, I told her
when they come into the office, ask for your 4241Ms as well. I may just. Tim's gonna give me his to go over tomorrow. I I don't think anybody else is really complaining much. Obviously, the other 3 routes went up 3 hours. The one stayed the same, and the other one went back down to an H, but it should have never been a J anyways. It's always been an H. So, otherwise, I probably would put a request for information in just to get a hold of all of them so I could go over them with a fine-tooth comb. But I don't think that may be necessary. Gosh, I can't even talk tonight.
Well, see how Tim's numbers work out, and if you see issues, then you can request them.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
And that's the key word. Where there's errors, you need to grieve it.
Yep.
Wherever you see errors, okay. Like one of my carriers sent me their 4241A, and I saw there was 0 for walk distances for what they walk. And that is your park point to door delivery times. So this tells me that one of two things happened. Either they weren't delivering to the door with packages, or the system didn't record it.
Or they weren't
in the
carrying
way
the
it's
scanner
supposed
with
to.
them, or they were scanning at the vehicle and not carrying the scanner with them to the door.
That too. There's all different kinds of possibilities with that.
Or it
But
was, or
now we've got to
it could have been mapped incorrectly. I don't know.
No, it was mapped correctly because I was there when they mapped it.
Okay, yeah. Being the mapping facilitator.
Remember,
yeah.
I was the facilitator.
Yep,
Yeah.
me too.
Same with like traffic control points. If you sat there and put in your traffic control points and that says 0, you need to grieve that because you have to have traffic control points in there.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us that have, well, let's just go over all these different slots on the 4241 so people actually know what they're about. Okay? You guys okay with that?
Yeah, I seen somebody had
So-
posted a copy of the cheat sheet. I may get my hands on one and put the cheat sheet up.
Oh,
So.
I think I put it in our chat. If not, I can put it in
gonna
our chat anyway.
I may have it here. Just give me a second.
So starting in the top left, we'll go across each row, and I'll explain a little bit about each section here. So the first slot is random letters. This is based on the end of run report that the management gets, so the carrier routed letters, like the NLM and things like that, as well as your mini mail survey raw letters that you counted are listed here. Next to that is your carrier routed flats and your raw flats that you counted in the mini mail survey. Next to that is your WSS letters that you input on your scanner. So each time you input that WSS, it gave you coverage for every box and then divided it by the number of days prior to that. So if you had one every week, you have 52 weeks of WSS coverage, but that's also divided by 6. The same with the WSS flats, box holder letters, box holder flats. DPS letters is your DPS, counted from the system from the end of run. Same with DPS flats if you had the FSS. That would have been there, but everybody lost FSS at the beginning of the day on January 1st. I do not know what CR flats are. Does somebody else?
Carrier routed.
Yeah, carrier routed.
Okay. So
I'm
carrier
assuming
routed
that's-
flats.
So I'm assuming that's the bundled flats.
No, that would be the ones
Or
in the
that's-
tubs. The
Or that's okay from the plant. and
AMFS,
the helicopter
yeah.
flats. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Pull down is the time they believe it should take you to pull down your case.
Okay.
It's an average that was included in the mini mail in the 99-page manual based on your volume and your bundling system. Parcels, that is the number of parcels that you scan, that are scanned to your route. So whatever the clerks scan at the office is put under parcels here. Same with accountable mail signature item. carrier pickup forms. When you scan them, when you do the pickups, that'll be listed there.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say maybe you should hold my questions to the end so you can get through this.
Okay. CODs and customs due. If you have cash on delivery or somebody has to pay the customs toll for something, that would be posted there. Postage due is the next one. Same thing, if somebody owes you cash and you go and pick up that cash, you would hit the postage due and that would show up there. Markups, that is standard based on mail volume, an average of your markups from your mini mail survey. PARS labels from the mini mail survey. Office walk time for the distances that you were measured for. Load time. This was a big one. This was your start load vehicle to end load vehicle average for the year. All the times would be added up and then divided by the number of days. Daily activities. That was your miscellaneous daily activities that you would do. Route length. It says LTM mapping. It's going to be the LTM mapping. If it doesn't match your official mileage that you had before, ask for a remeasurement with a certified odometer. Regular boxes from the DPM mapping. Technically, it's from your edit book, not from the DPM mapping. Centralized boxes, also edit book, but they say DPM mapping. Total boxes is total boxes. Collection compartments. The numbers that you put in on the mapping program for collection compartments will go here. Daily dismounts comes from your edit book. Daily dismount distance should have been measured with your measuring stick or whatever, the measuring wheel, whatever you use to get your distance to all your dismounts. The reserve slot is open for whatever they want to add to this. Blue box collection is for how many blue boxes you have on your route. Service inter-unit. So if you have an intermediate unit that you go to, that's where that would go.
Would that be the lock pouch?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be the lock
Okay.
pouch or some of the parent-child routes where you have
Yeah,
to go in
okay.
case of the mail. Yeah, anytime that
Or-
you have to go to an intermediate office for, yeah.
Or like up, I saw one of those offices here in Michigan where the rural carrier goes in, does the PO boxes, and then turns around and clerks the window for 2 hours.
Damn.
Yeah. Then you have drive. That is your time from your mapping, both your mailbox mapping and your LTM. That is the time it takes you to drive your route using the drive matrix. No longer the 12 minutes per mile, but the multiple different versions of it that it is now. Service. I am not sure what that one is. Do you guys know?
I don't know.
No.
It just says it's from DPM and LPM mapping, so I'm not sure what that is.
Maybe it's the distance to your gas station.
Not sure.
No.
I know fueling. I know fuel is different,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
that's based on 100 miles. But I think that might be your distance to your gas station. Is what I'm thinking. Walk.
Wow.
That is the distance from your park point to the front door that you placed on the map. That's from your 2 pinpoints that you put on the map in a straight line. TCP is traffic control point. Fuel, that is for only government vehicles. If you're in a POV, this should be 0. If it's anything else, it's wrong. But the government vehicles, it is based on 100 miles. So, for instance, on my route, it's 28 miles. I get 2 fuelings a week. So I would get 2 times the fueling on here versus somebody who has a 93-mile route would get a fueling every single day. Volume factor, here it says yearly average volumes. So that is, do you guys have any numbers in your volume factor?
No, they've all been zeros.
Okay. So we'll have to look into that because like I said, it could be that when you adjust your route, like lose a few boxes, add a few boxes, or add a neighborhood or something like that is what I was reading. Drive speed. This is your average speed on the route based on the speed matrix. Route coverage. This is your mail volume on your route. How many boxes on average you service a day. USPS vehicle used, it will be a yes or a no. POV will be no. Government vehicle will be yes. Verify mail. That is your fingering of the DPS, your stuff like that. Reload. Does anybody know that one?
That the reloading one, actually, I remember in the test office at the time, there was a time where we actually, when we would move mail, especially in POV routes, when you'd have to stop and get out and physically move the mail to continue on, that's your reload.
Okay.
There was actually...
The reload now is already a calculated average based on your mail volume.
Yeah.
Which is a lie, because more times than not you have to move trays of spurs more than you do the mail.
Yeah, it was an average in. I know at one time the test study offices, I actually remember because we had a start reload, end reload feature, and I know that they were collecting that data from those 4,000 test routes at the time, and that's where they initially came up with an average to work with everything else. But yeah, that's the reload, is having to move the mail to where you have it when you deliver.
Serviceable.
Yes.
To move it to where it's serviceable. Mm-hmm. Okay. The next one is registered and certifieds accepted. So for some people, they have law firms that send out certifieds, and you scan all of them in that you accepted them. That's where that goes. If you don't pick up any registered or certifieds out on your route, this would be a 0. Yep. Money order applications. We are a post office on wheels. Some people actually have money order applications in their trucks. So if you do those, that would be put there. Contact rural reach. This is a big one. They just came out with the instruction to do more rural reach and get more customers to send stuff through the Postal Service. If you sit there and you talk with your customer about sending things through the mail, whether it be parcels or it be first-class letters, or you get them to do EDDM, or if you sit there and have a small conversation with one of your customers about how their day's going, reaching out to that customer, making sure they're okay. That's a rural reach customer. Put it in the scanner. You need to use that. That's a big one. We don't get an automatic credit for it anymore.
That's 5 minutes.
I like the one where you discuss informed delivery.
Yes.
All right, yes.
And then the next one, stamp stock. The automatic credit we had until our recs come out. Stamp stock, we're allowed to carry stamp stock with us. A lot of postmasters don't want us to, but you can actually ask to carry stamp stock on your route. And if you do a stamp stock sale on your route, you input it in your scanner. Of course, some of us carry stamps in our back pocket. If somebody puts 63 cents in the mailbox, take that stamp out of your pocket, stick it on the envelope,
stamp stock
and
sale,
ship it out, and that's a stamp stock sale. Activity scans. That is every scan you put in the scanner, you get a credit for. And you get a time factor for putting that scan in.
Yeah.
Parcels, this is your parcel. This is for parcels out on the route. The first one was the parcels that were routed to your route. This one is the ones you scan out on your route, including unscanned parcel. Account mail signature item. If you deliver a certified, registered, or anything else that requires a signature, that's where that will show up. Carrier pickup items. This is your carrier pickup or your prepaid acceptance. That goes in that slot there. So if you have packages, they want you to do a minimum of 5, but I guarantee you every single customer you have out there would want you to scan every parcel they give you so they can track it all the way through from the time you pick it up to the time it's delivered. Give that customer that benefit of seeing that you picked it up and sent it off. Because if they have a parcel that the guy's calling and saying, I never got this parcel, and you didn't scan it to pick up, they're going to say, well, I never shipped it, so they're going to have to send another one. But if you scan it was picked up, they can track where it went and see where it ended up. So, CODs, customs due. Again, this is the same as the one up above, but this is when you deliver them versus receiving them on your route. Postage due, again, same thing, in the office versus on the route. And express deviation. If you have to leave your route in the middle of it to go back to the office to get an express, you start your deviation from the moment you decide to leave your route. Just before you pull off from that mailbox, you hit start deviation. And you don't hit end deviation until you return to that exact mailbox. And that time will be recorded right there.
That also, if it's, I'm going to say, since expresses now are 6 p.m. guarantee time, most of us are usually, we'll have them delivered. If it's like something that's off at the end of the route, it's Christmas time, you're not going to get to that spot by 6 o'clock, and you have to deviate to go get that express delivered by 6. That's also when you would use that start deviation and end deviation. From the time you leave that spot on your route, go deliver it until you get back is also the start and end deviation for the express.
Yep, and if you go and pick up the express at the office and it's further down on your route from where you left it, go right back to where you left off from your route, end deviation, continue your route and deliver that express. If it's before it, go deliver it, then come back to that spot.
Yep.
That's the only way it works. Now the last ones are the final numbers on your route that show your standards. It shows your office time, your street time, and your total. And the total is what they base your evaluation on. Now, questions?
I want you to go back to the WSS letters and flats.
Uh-huh.
Explain again, because you did it so well, how the numbers are factored.
The WSS letters and WSS flats, you get a full coverage for the day. But you have to remember that's through a 365-day window minus Sundays.
301, you mean?
Exactly.
Right.
So you take that one day and divide it by 301. If you have 665 boxes, good. That gives you 2 letters for the year, or 2 flats for the year. If you have one every week, guess what? That's now 104 letters at the letter volume, the seconds that they give you for letters for the year. So that's not a big number, but it does make a difference, especially if you get them every week, or you get them every 3 days, or you have ones that come in every other week or once a month. They all add up.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because I'm assuming the same goes for the box holder letters and flats.
Yes, same
Right.
exact thing.
Because we've got in my office we have a grocery store ad that comes in every week, and so it's a box holder flat every week, and then
So you get how many boxes do you have?
845.
Okay, divide 845 by 301, and that's how many you get for each day on your average for the year.
Okay, it's almost 3. Okay.
And then you also have to figure that 3 times 52. And that's your volume factor for just that
Wow.
specific box holder that comes every week. I know it's convoluted and complicated, and math is one of my strong suits, and it confuses the crap out of me.
Just remember, this was devised by engineers, so these were smart people who put this together.
They have never
Div-
figured it
divide-
out.
There you go.
Devised by engineers, input from managers who haven't carried mail in a long time, and
If ever.
union management that hasn't carried in a long time.
Yeah.
So
And I say that with all due respect. My brother is an engineer, so
I have a lot of friends who are engineers, and I have friends who work on jet engines and cars and things like that. And I can tell you get them into a room and start talking about something other than engineering, and they look like a fish out of water.
yeah. I always said I always joke with my brother and say, you can do math without numbers, but you can't balance your checkbook.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. But that's the thing. It's a convoluted calculation that, after you actually understand how all the numbers go together, make a lot more sense.
And
So, next question?
thank you for explaining it all.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
So I guess why are we getting a keystroke? Okay, for on the office time for carrier pickup forms, and it says
Because-
activity keystroke O.
Because
You're not-
they just
you're-
copied it. They copied it from the delivery side,
Okay.
but it's actually counting it in both those slots when you hit that keystroke. So when you go out onto the field
Okay.
and you scan that sheet, it's giving you a credit for it out on the street, but it's also giving you a credit from you getting it and putting it where it's supposed to go for
Okay.
you to take it out to the street.
Okay, so for example, on mine, I'm looking at my 4241 right now. So for carrier pickup items on street time, I've got 4 minutes for carrier pickups, but in my office time for carrier pickup forms, I have a 0.
Okay. So you get more time on the street than you do in the office.
Okay, and it's probably that way because I don't get a lot of I have 2 or 3 customers who send stuff out on a non-regular basis. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
it's not like the girl in my office who services the UPS store and will come back with more parcels than she went out with. You know, especially at Christmas.
Yeah. And
Oh.
that's the other thing is, like me, I have customers that they don't put in a pickup form. They just
Yeah.
stick a flag up and leave a note in their mailbox to get the package at the
Oh.
front door or wherever they
Yeah,
put it.
yeah.
So I don't
I
get
got-
I don't get pickup request for that, but I still get the credit for the parcels.
Yeah,
Why not? They notified you that there's a pickup,
Yes.
Oh,
so you should get carrier pickup.
But it
You don't
doesn't-
get the manifest credit,
Yes.
but you
I
should
still get the carrier
pickup.
pickup. I get the carrier pickup, and I also do a door miscellaneous scan.
Um,
are you going?
That's-
well, you
I
see,
was-
because
we were told trip to door 1 because to get the credit to the door for that.
See, and I was told that trip to door is 2 or more. So if,
2 or
if you're
more to
for
deliver
delivery.
packages,
yeah, I was
for
told the
delivery.
trip to door
But if
is
you're doing
for
a
delivery.
pickup- but if you do a pickup, then, like I said,
miscellaneous.
this is what I was told. But all I would say, at least in my district, my ADR has told us when it comes to the carrier pickups, there are
Mhm.
more than 5 pieces, and I agree with you 100%. It is customer service to scan them,
Mhm.
but it is at management's approval to scan more. If the customer wants them done, then the customer should put in a written request stating that they want or the reasoning that they want or need them scanned on a daily basis or however often, and then management gives the approval to do it.
Yeah,
I'm
see,
just,
that's the
I'm
other
just
side of
gonna
this.
throw that out there.
Okay.
That's the other side of this. You get all these different managers and union people that give different answers to everything that's going on. But I'm looking at this from the aspect of what credits can I do honestly and back up with some kind of fact as to why I'm doing them. And I'm
Right.
going to do, and according to the sheet on the quick reference guide, the trip to door says 2 or more for parcel delivery. When you have to go to the door multiple times for parcels, you use trip to door. The door miscellaneous is for any trips to the door you have to do. So if you're doing a carrier pickup, that would be a door miscellaneous. You were told if it's hold mail, you're supposed to do a door miscellaneous, but now they've changed that over to the unscanned parcel when you have more than 8 letters.
Well, it's always been 8 or more, you get a parcel credit.
Yeah, but at the beginning it was do a door miscellaneous because that's basically like a parcel
Well,
credit.
If you
Anyway.
didn't have,
Or
yeah,
miscellaneous if it didn't fit in the box and there was nothing to scan.
Yeah, and now it's an unscanned parcel.
just period.
Just period. If it's over 8 pieces, it's an unscanned parcel. Period.
Okay.
And you
I-
can say to door as your location.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So one of my infrequent customers doesn't leave me a note, doesn't put in a carrier pickup request through the computer. I'll just open up her CVU and she'll have a bunch of small parcels outgoing
Where are they at? In her mail slot?
in the mail slot. Yeah.
it's still pickup.
Then it's still a pickup, but it's just your standard carrier pickup right there at the mailbox.
Are you doing? Or should I still be doing carrier pickup, or should I be doing prepaid acceptance?
Under carrier
Because-
pickup, the
Just no man. Just is there the form
No on the
number?
manifest.
the
Yeah,
there's
no
no-
on
there's-
on
yeah. And
5630.
and-
Yeah.
technically, what is the carrier pickup qualifier when collecting them out of the box or whatnot is if it's over 2 pounds or it's a priority. That would be the carrier pickup option qualifier.
No.
But
But
how many of us carry a scale in our mail truck?
Well, I will tell you for the customer I'm thinking about, none of them are over 2 pounds.
Yeah.
And I think they all go first class. So
It's not our job to weigh them. That's the clerk's job.
Well-
and at this point, honestly, I'm gonna say what works best for you.
Yep,
Whether
exactly.
it's
You can
scanning
do a
them
carrier
under-
pickup. You can do prepaid acceptance.
Yep.
it just the other thing too, and because people throw this word around manifest. Okay, there's gosh, I can't remember the form. The form they print out from the computer, that the computer generated carrier pickup form. Okay.
The carrier pickup request.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because we have within our office we have businesses that send out parcels, and they do the thing where they put them all on one form.
Mm-hmm.
To
The
me,
manifest.
That's the manifest.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Because people are
So-
throwing out. People are conflating calling the carrier pickup request a manifest.
No.
and they do two different things. And
But they
scanning
have
Yes.
the same form number.
okay,
They're not the
but
same form number.
they're not the same form number, and they do different things. Because if you scan you scan the carrier pickup request, that does not put the tracking
Auto-populate.
numbers in the system. Doesn't put the tracking numbers into the system. Scanning the manifest, where you may have, 20, 50, 100 parcels on one manifest. You scan that, all those parcel numbers, all those tracking numbers get put in the system.
All those
So-
tracking numbers are considered picked up.
Right.
Yep.
And they go and they're in the system. So I want to start clarifying that a carrier pickup is different from a manifest.
Yes. From the
Correct.
scan
Okay.
sheet.
The way it works, and the way it tells the difference. A carrier pickup request comes from management. It gets
Right,
handed
right.
to you at your case.
Right.
The pickup manifest is printed by the
By
shipper,
by the customer. Yep.
yep, by whoever's shipping it, and placed with the packages, and we scan it where we pick it up, and we leave the manifest with the customer.
Right.
The packages go with us, the manifest stays with the customer. The carrier pickup request comes back with us to the office.
And then
Basically,
what?
all that the carrier pickup
And then it gets
request
recycled.
is yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Basically.
It goes in the circular
'Cause I was-
file because all that's doing is once you scan that when you pick it up, it's closing out that pickup order on the management and in the system.
Yeah.
It's recognizing that yes, I picked it up, or no, there was nothing to pick up. Because we've
Yeah.
had businesses that just have the standing orders that come every day, and some days they may not have anything. So, you're at least acknowledging that you did the attempt on that pickup notice, whether it was a yes or a no, and it's closing out that order for the day when you scan it. And then, yes,
That answer your question?
the manifest, the carrier on the customer side should have everything connected. That's, yeah. So I know, like I said, on the one route, we've got the carrier that has the pickup automatic request. Unless he's on vacation and his mail's on hold, then we don't have to stop. Obviously, we don't get the pickup request, but we get the pickup request daily. We go there. He usually has a scan sheet or a manifest to print out. What I do is I ask, okay, how many packages do I have? I verify. I put in the number, and then I'll pick up 5 of them, scan them, and then after I do that, then I'll go ahead and scan his manifest in. That way everything is logged, and then I'm done with that one. So.
All right. Do we have any other questions on the 4241?
Let me think. I'm wondering what that service is because I got over 1,000 minutes in there for service.
Wow.
I don't. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Right?
But I will say, I will say this. In the Rex guide, there was
That's 16 hours.
Yeah. I got to figure out. We need to find out what that is because I need to keep doing that. But I will. But in the Rex manual, there was or maybe it wasn't in the Rex manual. It was in the Q&A. They gave a thing where you could do a rough determination of what your drive time would be using the drive speed matrix. And I ran that, and I just redid the numbers here, and and that rough guide they gave you was, I'll tell you, it's pretty darn close to what I'm getting credited here.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, my drive time went up based on compared to the old system, went up almost 2 hours.
Yeah, and that's the key. Is the smaller the distance on the route for mailboxes, the greater the drive time matrix.
Yeah.
Unless
And if
you're
your
one of
boxes are
those-
all really close together, you're getting almost 20 minutes a mile
Yeah.
And if your boxes are really, really far apart, you're only getting 9 minutes a mile.
Well, 95% of my route is CBUs.
Then
I got 44. I got 44 curb boxes, and let's see, about 10 of them. Let's see, 4, 7, 13. About 20 about half of them are 3 or 4 on a post, and then the rest are individual, driveway to driveway.
yeah. So
yeah, no, that was a really great explanation of everything on here. Appreciate that. That's really good.
any other questions, anybody?
Crickets. Okay.
Cricket.
So it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in, but
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah. Whew.
I know, right? It is a lot.
I don't even
Anybody
know
have
what it
any?
I don't know if I want
Did I just blow everybody's mind so much that we can't talk about anything else anymore? Like, whoa.
Wow, gotta let that marinate a little bit, I think.
Even Bill's quiet. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. What? I turned my hear-
Time to wake
I
up,
turned
Bill.
my
I
hearing
think
aid off.
I think he fell asleep listening to me talk.
Yeah.
I turned my hearing aid off.
Uh-huh. No, I appreciate that explanation, James. I think those that listen
No,
to
that
it
was-
will get a little bit better understanding than trying to read a paper. I don't
Yeah.
even have one in front of me, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to go double check that when I get back to the office tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you get back to your 4241As and 4241Ms, if you have discrepancies, highlight them.
Yeah. That's...
Highlight them, take them to management and be like, these are incorrect, and then turn around, and if they don't want to fix them, grieve it. We'll hold it at step 2 until National gets their step 4 solved.
I not a question per se. Well, I guess it is for blue collection boxes. Okay. Like I said, one of the other carriers in my office services a UPS store on her route, and she takes a tub of mail, and they have a mail collection. They collect mail,
Uh-huh.
outgoing mail. Okay.
They got a tub.
Yeah, right. Right, but it's in a cabinet, and she has to open the cabinet, swap the tub out, and then it's got a barcode she has to scan to say that she picked it up.
That's
Would that
technically a
count?
blue box.
That's what I said. So as we were kicking it around, I said, you should get a blue box credit for that.
Yes.
Yeah, if you have
So,
a blue
I'll
box
tell her-
scan inside of it, yeah, you got to have that credit.
Yeah, that she's got. In fact, I mean, there's days where you have to go back, and because they've got that report because management gets that report that says, hey, have all the blue
Too
boxes
early.
been collected? Have they been collected too early or whatever? And when I was an RCA, I forgot to put it in my correct voice. Back when I was an RCA.
Okay, it wasn't that long ago.
But anyway,
sorry to take you.
but yeah, but I know, but I've had to go back to the UPS store and just run in and scan that,
Yep.
so it clears their report. So I'll tell her that if she's not getting credit for that she probably should file
Definitely.
either see if management will correct it or file a grievance on that, because she took a
Exactly.
big hit, and every like you all said, every little bit helps.
Yes, and everything you want to grieve about, the very first step you have to do is talk to
discuss it.
management first.
Step 1 discussion. Yep.
You have
Getting
to
the
sit
lingo
down.
down.
Yes, and then when management says I can't fix that, then you can file the grievance.
And you
Oh
asked
no
for
no
your-
no no no! You're wrong. You're wrong. My postmaster
No.
advised me that that's not the way. First, you have to file an RFI before you can file a grievance. And I
What?
said, "Excuse me."
No,
I says,
I
"What
I could
information
file
am
a
I
grievance and an
requesting?
RFI.
What information am I requesting if I haven't seen the grievance yet?" That's not my problem. Okay, yeah, asswipe. And he says, "What you call me?" I said, "Asswipe," and I walked away. He
I
come
would've
over. He
said
says,
toilet
"You can't
paper."
talk to me like that on the floor." I said, "When you're that stupid, I'll do worse." Shit.
I'll just turn around and I've done that. I've done that to a supervisor, and I put him in his place. And when he questioned me on it, he actually took me back for an II, and he just basically berated me in the office about it. He said, "I want to have an official discussion about this." And when he got done berating me, I said, "Can I talk now?" He said, "No, we're done." I turned around as I was walking out the door. Then I don't consider this an official discussion because we really didn't discuss anything.
Well,
Oh no no!
and you have to remember, when you step into that office as a steward, you are on even keel
You're
with
equal.
that. You are equals with that with management at that time. So if they want to be assholes to you, you can toss it right back.
Give it
There
right
ain't
back.
shit that they can do to you about it.
Yeah,
Or you
and
pull
also-
Bill May and walk out while they're yelling at you and say, "Sorry, I'm not going to subject myself to a hostile work environment."
Here's your.
Yep,
here's
and the
your
other side of
grievance.
it is also on that side too, as a steward, you want to take that manager out of their office. Do not let them have their discussions with you in their office, because they still will feel like they have the power over you when they're sitting at their desk and you're on the other side of it. Take them out, put them in a conference room. I don't care if you take them out onto the back dock of the post office, into the break room, into the bathroom, as long as you're the same sex. Don't be going into the opposite sex's bathroom.
Oh, wait a
What,
minute.
what if I want to
bad.
identify
gendering-
for that moment?
You're gendering there now, James. You got to stop that.
That I did not say what I did. I said as the opposite sex. I didn't say if you identify as the opposite sex of what you were born as. That's a different story. So if you identify as a female, then you shouldn't be going in the male bathroom to have a discussion with the other male supervisor. And you shouldn't also be taking the male supervisor into the female bathroom.
Well, if you identify as the female, should you be working in the male room?
Oh,
Oh, this
and
is
I
going
thought we wouldn't have a dad joke in
That
this
just
one.
went
I thought we
totally.
wouldn't have a dad joke.
You forget who you're talking to.
But anyways, continuing with this discussion of the fallout of
The
route.
aftermath.
We got to stay on track here. We're getting up there in time.
Yep.
So, is there anything you guys want to tell carriers about this to help them in this situation? Bill, you first.
No, I don't want to go first. I
Too bad, so sad.
I
Bill-
think that you have to pay attention. Like I said, I was off Saturday, so I haven't seen my numbers. All I've heard was the moaning out of our office from several carriers. Everybody else basically stayed, within a framework of where they expected to be. So they're kind of happy. They were nervous about this whole situation. I think that basically, if you haven't been doing the rec scans all this time for the past, and especially my office for the past 5 years, this is what's coming back to bite you in the ass. Look at your numbers, ask questions. If you have a local steward, question them, take direction from them. Again, go to your supervisor to discuss it before you go filing a grievance or crying to the steward. Know what you're talking about, folks. And check every little nook and cranny for anything that's missing or anything that seems askew. This is one of those situations where you have an opportunity to correct this before it goes into effect. And again, when the LTM comes available for us to make adjustments, make sure you're getting your dismounts, make sure you're getting your CBUs as far as the collection compartments and their parcel lockers. Everything that you didn't pay attention to, you better start paying attention to, because folks, that I'm telling you, when I see some of these comments about the money these people are missing,
Yep.
You know, my heart breaks for them.
Yep.
But if you didn't do your job, then, you know, it's on you. It's not on anybody else but yourself. Yep. So, folks, you know, if it doesn't go in the scanner, it doesn't go in your wallet. I've said that 100 times in my office. I'll preach it until the day I retire. And you know, I can only hold your hand so far. At some point, you have to step up for yourself.
Yep.
Mike? I just echoing, it's been my philosophy, and I've said it in social media posts before, and that is that no one should care more about your paycheck than you. And this is you caring about your paycheck. I also want to say that this is not the time, and believe me, I'm seeing that just all kinds of, I'm getting out of the union. This is all the union's fault. How could the union have agreed to this? Folks, this is not the time to jump ship.
No.
This is when we really need to understand that a union is every member. It's not the national board. It's not just the national board. It's not just your steward. If you are paying dues, then you are the union, and we need to stand strong and stand for each other. So, I know on one of the social media groups, lady said, "Hey, don't be attacking other carriers when they're posting on here." You know, well, I can't hit. You know, we need to stick together. The first Postmaster General of the United States, Benjamin Franklin, said it best. You know, we must all hang together, or we will assuredly hang separately. So, there you go.
That's awesome, there, Mike. Yeah, this has been. I think this is the wake-up call. And again, this is not the union's fault. Rex was put in place via arbitration in 2012. Yes, that was 11 years ago. Wow, I can't even do math. I can tell I'm tired. My one day off this week. This was handed to us via arbitration 11 years ago. Is it perfect? Not at all. Does it still need to be tweaked? Definitely. This is just the first initial wake-up call. It's not a 2 to 4 week count end of February, first part of March that determines your evaluations for the year. This is something that your evaluation is going to be what you put into it, literally. What you put into that scanner it's going to affect a good portion of your evaluations. Yes, the box count or the dropping from 2 minutes to 1.2 minutes sucks for some routes. The drive speed matrix for those higher mile routes with less boxes, yes, it sucks. Unfortunately, I hate to say it is what it is on those ends, but unless you all of a sudden in those really rural areas get a massive build somewhere and more boxes, it's going to hurt for a little bit. It really is, and it's hard to deal with for a lot of us. October, you know, when we have the next mini mail survey at the end of September and new evaluations in October, are we going to know where we're at again? Maybe not. I know volumes are dropping even more parcels. I know in my area, you know, we had those couple of years with COVID with Amazon, and now all of a sudden we have contractors delivering Amazon in our area, and our parcels have started to dwindle again this last couple months. So it's going to be up in the air, unfortunately, again. But definitely go over your 4241As, go over your 4241Ms. I would say, hey, take them home and go over them with a fine tooth comb. No, don't take them home. That's an end of shift duty. Get paid for that.
Exactly.
Get paid for that. And, Josh is out. He's got a little bit of a coughing throat issue, so he went ahead and departed with us this evening. So we'll skip over him. And, yeah, stewards, definitely be prepared for lots of questions, lots of upsets. And basically, I mean, it's going to be hard on us. I mean, maybe not all of us, but we're all going to be handling something or another in our offices. I know that.
Well, let me disagree with their young lady about it's not the union's fault. It is the union's fault. I mean, you had all this time during COVID that a lot of work could be done that never got done.
Yes. No, I do agree with that.
We had them come out and say for years we've known about their computer systems, yet nothing was done about it. Okay, we've had years where we haven't had the transparency that we should have. What did the union do about it?
Yeah.
They just kept buying excuses from the post office. Like I said before, at the national convention, if I was the president of this union during COVID, I'd have been down there every damn day
with a mask
knocking on the door and saying, what the hell's going on?
No,
but they didn't, did they?
No, they didn't.
They went home and sat on their asses, and that's the union's fault.
And I do agree.
It's on both sides, management and union. It's on both sides. This whole thing could have been solved 3 years ago. We could have had a count in 2019. We could have had a count in 2020.
Everything. They should have stalled everything until everything became transparent, readily available, and verifiable within 48 hours of any numbers being put up.
Well, yeah. I mean, this the whole time, they're toting, there'll be a database on the website, and you'll be able to log into it and check your numbers and blah, blah, blah. And then they finally just came to us not that long ago saying, yeah, that's not even going to be feasible.
No, not at all. And it's been 11 years in the making. And folks, please don't forget, for the past 5 years, you've been working your ass off delivering Amazon, and you've gotten no remuneration out of it whatsoever.
Nope.
That's the other side of it. Yeah, we've all worked our butts off through the COVID and all that stuff, and we have absolutely nothing to show for it, especially the subs. The subs were the unsung heroes through COVID, and they have absolutely nothing to show for it either. And now they're getting screwed out of route times.
And management gets a 3% raise. And didn't even have to wait for it.
Yeah.
It takes 11 months to get our back pay. But
we'll talk about that next week.
But management gets a 3% raise. And then we turn around and get shit on with these evaluations. Because they can't get their shit together to make the system work that they've had 11 years. Now, and initially when that arbitration came out and with the engineers, they wanted it in place in 2015.
Yeah.
So we're already 8 years past when it was supposed to be in place. 8 years. 8 years, and you still couldn't figure it out. Now, and you're still going to pass the blame off on all the postal reorganization, and all those initial people are now replaced with people that didn't know what was going on. And 8 years, people. 8 years since this was initially supposed to be in place.
And remember, if it would have benefited the post office, it would have been in place in 2015.
Yep.
Yes.
And now...
If it had benefited. Now it actually benefits the post office for them to put it out now.
and that's why
That's
they
why
want to
it's
push
out.
it through. Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
So
And we're hitting up on 2 hours here, guys, so we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Resolutions, again, had to take a back seat. We will get to those, I promise.
this was way more important, and we still have time before we put them up to our counties to go to state convention.
We do. My county meeting's at the end of the month, so I've got a few weeks. So within the next week or two, whether it'll be next week, I don't know yet. We'll see what's going on. Because I can't quite
see
promise
what new news comes out. Yeah, what new news comes out from the union.
So we'll either get a start on it next week, or definitely the week after. We may just be a whole episode dedicated to resolutions. We're getting there, though.
Well, we'll have to do a special episode in the middle of the week.
We could do that too. Even if it's just a couple of us, we can do that.
Yeah.
We may think about that as things go on. Let's get through this week, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, not this week. Not this week, please.
No, not this week. Yeah. But on that note, guys, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Again, I'm going to thank you, a huge thank you for me, and I'm sure all of us out there, for all our new subscribers and all the new people that are following us on the Facebook page. I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. I mean, it feels good to see that it's finally getting out there. And this week has just been amazing watching my analytics and all the notices coming up. My phone has been going off constantly the last few days, not only with this whole aftermath fiasco, but with just the notifications of the new subscribers. And again, I thank you all for that. Keep spreading the word amongst yourselves, please. We appreciate that. Don't be afraid to hit us up, Facebook page. We've had several new people join us on Discord, which is just absolutely great. Hop in for the conversations. Anything you want to hear us talk about, feel free, email us, message us, hop in a Discord chat, say, hey, I've got an idea, this sound, or could you guys talk about this a little bit more? I've got questions. We're here for you. No matter what it is, we will do the best we can to get answers for you and find the information that you're looking for and point you in the right directions. Does anybody else have anything else tonight?
I have one thing.
Go ahead, Mike.
If anyone is interested in attending the Mid-States Conference in May, the post office box for registrations will remain open until May 1st, and they will accept registrations until May 1st.
Yep, I saw your message. I did announce that, but thank you for announcing that again.
I wasn't sure if you were going to put that out.
That's okay.
Yeah, we want. It's a good to put in again.
Where is that? Because I have 68 days of annual leave to burn up.
Wichita, Kansas.
It is in the Drury Plaza Hotel in Wichita, Kansas.
Nobody wants to go to Wichita, Kansas. Come on, man. Jeez.
Well, dude, even if you don't go to the conference, you can at least chase tornadoes.
Oh no, they'll chase me.
Next year is in Michigan.
Away.
But that's awesome that you guys can register up until May 1st. Look forward to seeing you there. I know myself. Mike, of course, will be there being on the state board and hosting. And I do believe James will be there. Am I correct?
I haven't sent in a registration, but I'm going to be there because I'm not buying any food at this point. So I'm just going to register anyway.
Okay. So, like I said, myself, Mike definitely, James should be there. We'll all be there, if you want to have conversations with us when we're outside of the rigmarole that goes on inside the conference hall. I think this Mid-States might be a little interesting. What do you think, Mike?
That's what I was That's what I was thinking about national convention too, but we'll see. Maybe with a more concentrated group.
Yes, and I'm just going to put it out there for national with this whole thing with Rex going into effect, and we've talked about the engineers. I did hear from Ronnie on, I think it was one of the Zoom steward things, quite possibly. It does sound like Dr. Ken Miracle will be at National. Just putting it out there, folks. So, anyways, on that note, I am.
Well,
yes.
I was going to say, Mike, make sure you have extra security for the national board that's going to be at Mid-State. But I hope that people can be civil and respectful about this, because again, it's only 30% of the union's fault and 70% management's fault. I like those numbers. I like 30% and 70%, because that's what they're giving us in cuts and raises on routes. So it sounds good to me to blame them like that. But remember, like everybody's been saying, these scans are your life now. Every scan you do puts pennies in your pocket on your paycheck. And it may not be a lot, but remember, if you take a penny a day and double it every single day, you'll have more than $1 million by the end of the year. Now, you're not going to get $1 million on your route. I don't think anybody will. But you can benefit yourself by finding those scans that you're missing, finding those parts that you can add to your route that aren't padding it, but are money you're leaving on the table. And nobody wants to leave money on the table for the post office to pick back up.
And you could be
So
one
do
of
your
those
scans.
that's right at that line where those couple minutes will give you that extra hour. And on that note, folks, we are going to wrap it up tonight, and we'll be back next week. And I hope everybody has a decent week. Stay safe out there. I get the anger and the animosity and the haste, but let's try and be civilized adults the best we can. And
We would tell you what topic we're talking about next week, but with the multiple changes of what's been going on, all we're going to do is ask you to like, share it with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe so that you don't miss the next announcement that we bring out or the next conversation we have about the rural craft.
And if you're feeling generous, give us a 5-star review. So on that note, everybody have a good night, and we'll be back next week.